So this is a very interesting type of attraction and chemistry. It's one where there's no words to describe it. It's that feeling that you're just somehow meant to be, like it's fate, and that the universe has somehow put you together. So this is how to tell if you and a particular person have that spiritual chemistry. Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan here today with another astrology video in our 5 stages of a relationship series. And today we're still looking at stage 1, which is the attraction and the romance stage. But today we'll be looking at how can you look at your synastry with a particular person and see whether you have that spiritual chemistry between the two of you. So if you're wondering how to get a synastry chart with you and a particular person, I have made a video showing you step by step how to cook up this synastry chart, and I will leave a link to that up above in the description box below so you can check that one out, and you can come back here and watch this video. So the first thing you want to be looking for to see if you have that spiritual connection with a particular person is you want to look at the planet Saturn. So Saturn, we all know, I've made a whole series on Saturn. He is that point in our chart that indicates our karma. So it's that loop that we all go through, and we feel like we can't quite get out of this karmic loop, and we suffer a lot because of the consequences of things that happen in our life. And our actions and the consequences, they are repeated, and there's a pattern, and we feel a little bit stuck. So if you have within a synastry chart a Venus opposite Saturn with you and a particular person that you're interested in, this is a really, really strong indicator of a karmic connection. So Venus and Saturn will have to be in the opposite signs, and they will have to, you have to keep the orbs no more than, I would say, 8 degrees orbs with this opposition. So this is showing that, this pattern that, the Saturn person feels like they've always been going through. Once they meet the Venus person, it's like the Venus person just gives them the love and the warmth and the stability and the security for them to feel like, oh, it is the perfect timing for me to meet someone in my life at a point in my life where I'm, getting out of my karma, or they're helping me in some ways to ease my karma. That kind of a feeling is coming from the Saturn person. Now, the Venus person, on the other hand, may feel this much heavier than the Saturn person, meaning that the Venus person may not like what they're getting themselves into. If the two of them can kind of overcome the initial stages of this sort of heavy feelings that they have for one another, they might find that they come around again. And if they do come around again, it's very likely that this is a very, very strong bond, almost unbreakable, because it just feels really like this is the person that fits into my life at the right time. The next thing that you want to look for when you're looking to see if you and a particular love interest have this spiritual connection is you want to see if you have a north node in a connection with the sun or the moon, with the other person's sun or moon. So the sign of the south node, which is opposite the north node, is sort of our comfort zone and the place in our life where it's natural for us to express out that house and that sign of the south node. But, as with all things in astrology, things come in a balance, a yin and yang. So the opposite of that south node is going to be the north node. That is where, in all of our charts, if we were to move towards our north node, it's going to be sort of stepping out of our comfort zone, moving closer to where we need to go in order to evolve and become this more holistic person. So if someone has their sun, conjunct, we can keep this up to 8 degrees orb again to your north or south node and their moon, to your north node as well as their moon. Sometimes it even works if it's in the same sign, because the style of the expression of the moon and the sun will be the same style of expression as the person's north node. So it all depends on how you feel. with a particular person that you are seeing. You know, if you feel this really strongly, then it's definitely showing up there in your synastry. So this, you know, the sun or the moon person, or if it's a sun, then the sun person sort of really becomes a teacher for the North Node person. They have a lot of qualities that the North Node person would like to develop in order to express themselves better and move better into the life path they're supposed to be on. The moon, if it's the moon, then the moon person sort of really nurtures the evolutionary growth of the North Node person. They really care and support, you know, what the North Node person is trying to do in their life to be in alignment with their evolutionary journey. So this is beautiful to have in synastry. The next thing that you want to be looking for to see if you and a particular love interest have that spiritual connection is you want to look for a Sun-Pluto aspect. So this would be Sun conjunct Pluto or Sun square Pluto, especially these two. Yeah, the orbs for the square has to be probably like 5 degrees maximum. The conjunction, you can go a little bit more. But what's really happening here, this is a hard transformation that is going to happen with the Sun person. The Pluto person, when they meet the Sun person, whether this is the conjunction or the square, is going to immediately feel, you know, Pluto is the furthest planet from the Sun. Do you see where I'm getting at here? The Sun is the hottest, brightest planet. Pluto is the darkest, furthest planet away from the Sun. So if Pluto and the Sun meet up, the Pluto person feels like that cold, that exterior, that shell that they have to protect themselves, you know, sort of gets warmed up, and the iciness, it's like an icebreaker kind of an aspect to have. That iciness that they have gets warmed up by the Sun, and their deepest, darkest, you know, desires and things light up because the Sun person is lighting it up. And if it's a conjunction, they really, really like it. But with the square, the Sun person sort of is going to fight back to the Pluto person. Meaning that when the Pluto person sort of brings out their darker motivations and things, the Sun person may, you know, the Sun person is definitely going to light that up at first, but then when they start to see the Pluto person bringing these things out, if they don't have, you know, Sun Pluto in their own chart, if they're not Plutonic in their nature at all, they're going to recede back a little bit. And that's going to cause a lot of tension because the Pluto wants more, and the Pluto might resort to control and manipulation. And, you know, it depends on the boundaries that the Sun person is willing to set. If the Sun person is strong in their Sun element, they can set enough boundaries as to be, you know, the two of them can be teaching each other certain things. You know, the Pluto person can be teaching the Sun person how to step into their darker side. Not necessarily their darker side, but their deeper motivations of why they might do things, and sort of transform their life path, their personality, their identity. And, you know, the Sun person will understand that they, you know, they are not who they thought they were, that there's another side to them. This is real, you know, this is like a soulmate kind of a connection, really. And the Sun person can definitely teach the Pluto person, you know, about their own ability to control themselves or not. So it's a dark, deep, transformative teaching that's very, very faded and very, very interesting. The next thing that you can be looking for to see if you and a particular person have that spiritual connection is to look at the vertex. The vertex has to be, the way that this works, you know, it's really a strange sort of way that the vertex works, and there's really no set way that it works. Different astrologers will tell you different things. But I'm telling you this particular way of using the vertex because I have seen this happening within the lives and the people in my life and things like that. So if you have in your chart and your partner's chart, if there's a vertex conjunct the other person's ascendant, this conjunction has to be pretty close with regards to the vertex and the ascendant. It doesn't matter if the vertex is in the 12th house or the first house of the other person, as long as it's in the same sign and it's in a conjunction, because what can happen is, you know, the vertex works in transits. the full moon and the new moon eclipses. So if you find that there is a full moon or new moon eclipse that happens in the sign of your vertex and the sign of your partner's ascendant, you might find that, you know, if you're already with this person and you trace back the date in which you meet, for example, that this is a fated meeting. See what I mean? So for example, if let's say your partner has a rising in Scorpio at 27 degrees and you have a vertex in Scorpio at 28 degrees, so you're going to have the same ascendant and vertex. And let's say that there just happens to be a new moon in Scorpio and the moon and the sun are around 27 and 28 degrees. You may find that if you're already together with somebody, and if you trace back the day that you meet, you may find that you have met up because of this vertex new moon, full moon connection. Does that I hope that's making sense, guys. So it's not really, you can't really use the vertex to predict when you will meet anybody, as you can see, because you don't know, you know, you can't say that, oh, the person that I'm about to meet is going to have a Scorpio rising because I have a Scorpio vertex. It doesn't really work like that. You know, you never know, and it's not like you will meet a Scorpio rising person every time, you know, there is a new moon or full moon in Scorpio. It may not happen. So it's sort of unpredictable in that sense. But if you are in a partnership and you want to see, you know, you feel like when you met your partner, it was really fated. You can trace back to the day that you meet. There might be a connection there. There may not be a connection there. But yeah, so this, because, you know, the ascendant is the person's body, physical body, their life path, their life journey. So what's happening is that we're actually putting the ascendant person's physical body and life journey in alignment with the vertex person's fatedness point. So it's sort of the ascendant person is coming in to the vertex person's life during a very powerful, energetic new moon and full moon. All right, the next thing you want to be looking for to see if you and a particular love interest have that spiritual connection or not, you want to see if you and your partner have either a moon or a Venus trine, sextile, quintile, biquintile, and even conjunct to Pluto. So this is going to create an ability to have a very deep transformative type of intimacy. And so the conjunction sometimes will feel like that, but it depends on other things. Sometimes it can cause a lot of resentments with the conjunction. But the trine, the sextile, the quintile, and the biquintile are really, really this transformative energy for both the Pluto and the Venus or the moon person. With the moon, you know, the Pluto person is really, you know, has a soft way of allowing the moon person to change their past conditionings regarding, you know, trust and intimacy, you know, things that may be blocking them in the past or ways of being and habitual patterns that they've outgrown. You know, the Pluto person does that because the Pluto person, you know, is able to get really close with the moon's psychology in a way that is not disturbing, in a way that the moon is willing to accept and allow themselves to be changed because of that. With Venus, the Pluto person is doing this to the love nature of the Venus person, pushing them to dive deeper into more than just, you know, attraction or sensual pleasures, but into a really deep soul connection of admitting what they really want with regards to their love nature, to sort of feel very connected to somebody, but at the same time, the connection is love and not obsession, not control and manipulation, because a lot of the times with very deep intimacy, we resort to control, manipulation, we fear the other person we're going to lose the other person, right? But with the trine, the sextiles, the quintiles, and the biquintiles, you know, they're working on these issues of, you know, jealousy and manipulation in a way that the both of them are understanding that when you want to get to real love, you have to not control or manipulate the other person. That the trust that has been created between the two of you is so strong, that the intimacy is so rare and the connection is so deep, that it can turn into real love, deep love, rather than obsession. And also, you know, with the quintile and the biquintile, with both the moon and Pluto and Venus and Pluto, the way that the two people are going to transform each other is going to be very fun. There's going to be a fun flavor to it. They're going to be a bit more creative in the way that they're going to do that transformation process. So this connection is like a real, you know, understanding. It's like when you bring out your dark side and the other person just has a way of creatively turning your darkness into a transformative process. So it's really beautiful. Not the square and not the opposition between Moon and Pluto. That is not nice. And Venus and Pluto, it's not nice. The next thing you can be looking for is if you and your partner have a Moon trine, sextile, to Neptune with your partner. Not the conjunction and not the square and not the opposition. That's just going to create a high level of idealization, feelings of like you found the one. But you know, the sextile and the trine can really indicate that there is an unconditional love here. There's an acceptance here between the two of them, especially from the Neptune person to the Moon person, accepting their everything, you know, turning their weird stuff, their darkness, their longings, their yearnings, their, you know, when they're feeling insecure, you know, the Neptune person still loves them unconditionally for that and is willing to do a lot. And this is a sacrificial kind of love that's actually real and not like the conjunction or the square or the opposition where you're sacrificing and then you're wishing for something in return and then it doesn't, you know, this whole like martyr syndrome thing can happen. But with the sextile and the trine, it's really nice. It's really, and the two of you can really be in this safe bubble of love together, of Neptune love together. And you know, the spiritual connection here is really, really strong. It's almost like you can understand each other, read each other's wants and needs without even having to say anything. Like you just intuitively know what the other person might want or need. And there's no explanation why that is, you know? It's not like Pluto where you can, you know, maybe you talk and it goes very deep, but with the Neptune, it's kind of just a sixth sense of knowing that this is what they want and need and this is who they are. And I'm allowing and I'm loving them for it, like kind of like that. Now, the last thing that I want to mention with regards to this spiritual connection between you and a particular partner is you want to look for Lilith. So, the Lilith that I usually use in Synastry is Black Moon Lilith. So if you want to turn on Lilith in astro.com, you can use the code H21 and H13. You will get 2 points of Lilith. Both of them are valid. So I usually use both of these. Now, with regards to who Lilith is, there's a whole story about her, all right? She's, you know, to briefly summarize, Lilith is that part of us in a woman's chart. She's that part of the woman that, you know, if you touch that part of her in the wrong way, she will fight for her equality. And she can be ruthless in fighting for that equality, and she may unleash a very wild sexual side just to prove her point. But if you touch that part of her nicely, you'll see an equality that she brings that is fair and just, and a primitive, wild sexual side that's very, sexuality is very alluring and attractive, but not forceful or destructive. In the man's chart, the sign, it will show the type of woman that he feels that sexual side, that feminine side of her, he can never resist. He cannot resist. It's alluring, it's attractive. That wild, it ignites a wild part of his feminine side. But he also really fears this part of this particular type of woman because she can be too powerful for him to handle. So, Lilith contacts in the synastry with easy aspects are good. So the trine and the sextiles between Lilith one person's Lilith and the other person's Sun, Moon, Venus, or Mars. And I think Mercury and Jupiter as well, because Jupiter is going to expand everything it touches, so Jupiter can even expand Lilith. So those easy contacts, and of course with the ascendant, is going to be very good. All right, and you can keep the orbs, you know, with the trine and sextiles, Lilith's orbs, up to like 5 degrees, 3, 4, 5 degrees, something like that. That'd be okay. This is great because this is, and I didn't put this in my, you know, sexual chemistry video because Lilith is more than just sexual. She is the, you know, the two people's ability to bring their deepest, darkest desires out. So it is a more soulful connection. It's like saying, whatever you got in there, in your hidden box of treasures, just unleash it and I will nurture it. If it's the moon, you know, I will sexually engage with it. If it's Mars, you know, I will seduce it out. If it was Venus, you know, things like that. So this is wonderful. This is a liberating process that the two people will have on each other with the easy aspects. And it's a nice kind of a liberation. It gets you to be truthful and honest about what you desire deep down. Sort of like Pluto, but more wild, more untamed, much more untamed than Pluto. Something that the two of you can only understand. If you were to tell it to other people, they may not get what you're trying to do. But with harsh Lilith aspects, so, you know, like the square or even the conjunction, or the opposition between Lilith and the other person's personal planets, this is not really great. The conjunction may be okay. It will really depend, you know, the conjunction, if the Lilith person has a lot of Lilith issues or not, it can kind of blend okay. But the square and the opposition, no, because this is like you are feeling this fatedness and connection at first, but then you're not actually compatible in terms of your wild nature. So therefore, when the other person actually feels safe to bring out their wild side, whatever that might be, their untamed, wild, feminine side, the other person's gonna be like, whoa, and they're gonna hold back, and they're gonna judge maybe, or they're gonna, you know, whatever they might do. And this can lead to a lot of resentment between the two. So, guys, I think that's all I have in the list for today in terms of spiritual connection between you and a partner. If you have any of these, and how many of them do you have, please comment below and let us know what your experiences have been like, especially with Lilith. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't. If you already subscribed, thank you very much for coming along. And I do birth chart readings, Synastry chart readings. All the information is on my website. You can check that out. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys, where we're going to be talking about more about the attraction stage. Bye.